Flags are flying half-staff tonight following the death of California Congressman Doug LaMalfa. Governor Gavin Newsom called for flags at the state capitol to be flown at half-staff. The White House also lowering their flags to honor the late congressman. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. Many of us woke up this morning to the news of LaMalfa's sudden passing at the age of 65. According to the Butte County Sheriff's Office, the congressman experienced a medical emergency last night and died during a surgical procedure. Republican Doug LaMalfa represented California's District 1, which includes most of the northern part of the state. LaMalfa was a fourth-generation rice farmer. He served in the California State Assembly and Senate before moving to the national stage. As we will show you a little bit later in the show, Congressman LaMalfa was recently campaigning against Proposition 50, the state's temporary redrawing of its congressional maps to favor Democrats. Though his seat was likely up for grabs next election, he was adamant about running again. Today at the state Capitol, Republicans reacted to the loss.
He was Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He was a rice farmer. He really fought for rural California. We talked as recently about a week ago about him continuing to run for a fight for rural California and run for re-election even after the Prop 50 news came out.
This loss is it's devastating for us. He was doing an amazing job getting to know his new constituents. The politics are going to happen.
And the Republican Party emphasized that right now is a time for mourning, but they will have to soon consider who the best successor to LaMalfa would be. Tonight, Governor Newsom also sharing his condolences, saying in part, quote, "While we often approached issues from different perspectives, he fought every day for the people of California with conviction and care. He will be deeply missed." Democratic Congressman John Garamendi also remembering LaMalfa today, saying in a statement, part, quote, "Douglas LaMalfa was a close friend and a colleague who cared deeply about the farmers in his district, as well as the extraordinary natural resources of Northern California." He went on to say, "Together for a decade, we represented the great Sacramento Valley, where I was proud to work with him on several bipartisan pieces of legislation in the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee to secure critical water infrastructure investments, advocate for California farmers, and safeguard the Sacramento River watershed." President Donald Trump also remembering the late congressman today.
He was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted, "Release the water," he'd scream at him. And a true defender of American children. He was a defender of everybody. And our hearts go out to his wife, Jill, and his entire family.
As for what comes next politically, we spoke with Republican and Democratic strategists today about the various possibilities. ABC 10's Becca Habegger joins us live in studio to discuss what voters could see.
Yeah, Alex, Governor Newsom's office tells ABC 10 that by law, the governor will have to call for a special election sometime within the next 14 days. But his office isn't saying when he might plan to hold that election, and the timing has political impacts. With Congressman LaMalfa's death, the balance of power in the U.S. House of Representatives stands at 218 Republicans and 213 Democrats. That's why Democratic strategist Steve Maviglio and Republican strategist Tim Rosales both say a lot rides on the refilling of LaMalfa's seat.
I think that neither party wants to give up the possibility of a seat, and particularly a seat like this. And given this dynamic that we have now, I do think and expect Republicans to compete for it kind of in the near term for the special election, because there are several important votes and things that come up all the time.
So it's up to the governor. He could probably call an election in March, I think might be the earliest date, and then perhaps have the runoff in June. That's possible, but not probable.
Maviglio says Governor Newsom might stall the special election as long as possible to avoid giving the seat back to a Republican.
LaMalfa was always a very solid Republican vote for the speaker on everything. So if the governor can push this out so the Democrats have a little bit more of an advantage, I think he will do that.
One possibility is Governor Newsom aligns the special election primary with the midterm primaries in June. It's also possible Newsom aligns the actual special election
election with the regular midterms in November. So whoever wins the special election could serve as little as about a month before the candidate elected in the midterms gets sworn in next January. In other words, the voters in LaMalfa's congressional district may go without representation for most of 2026.
Really, who loses, and I think who is going to bear the brunt of this, obviously, are the people who live in that district.
As for who will run, Rosales says, from a strategic standpoint, it makes sense that anyone wanting to run in the midterms also throws their hat in for this special election.
It's an opportunity in a couple ways. One is, I think, the financial thresholds and the money that they can raise for each election expands. So with the financial limits that you have in a federal race, it really elevates the amount of money that they can potentially raise and then potentially spend in terms of advertising.
And it might not attract a lot of top tier Republicans because it's a seat that they'll only hold literally for months. So it might be somebody who is well advanced in their career, but to spend that kind of money and energy for a seat that's not going to be theirs for very long, or would have to pull out a miraculous upset under the new district lines, that's a tough call for somebody to make.
As you know, California voters passed Prop 50, which will redraw congressional district lines to favor Democrats, starting with the midterms. So voters in the special election will be those in the current District 1, which leans Republican. The redrawn District 1 is designed to lead Democratic. We'll learn within the next 2 weeks when that special election will be held.
All right, Becca, thank you so much for that. And we are continuing the conversation now. And we are joined by our political expert, Chris McKeely. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Unfortunate, though, for the circumstances. I do want to ask you, because as Becca was mentioning with all the election conversations, this could get really confusing for voters, especially if they see two different names in two different places on their ballot. So talk to me about what voters should really know coming up.
Well, they have the opportunity perhaps in the June primary, assuming that the governor calls the special election at that time, that they would cast two votes, one to fill the remainder of Congressman LaMalfa's term through January of next year, and then to do a new 2-year election for a new candidate. It could be the same individual, it could be somebody else.
Now, we've heard a lot of Democratic names coming out saying that they would have run against Doug LaMalfa, but we haven't really seen a lot of Republicans. I know that obviously the party was really supporting him as the incumbent there, but now with his passing, has there been any mentions or any names kind of rolling around out there that might, for the Republican side, step into this role?
Well, I think first they're going to go through a little bit of a period of mourning, but some names that have been tossed about include the current Assembly member, the former Republican leader, James Gallagher, perhaps former state senator Brian Daly, who covered a lot of that congressional district in his state Senate time. So those are names that we've heard, but of course no one officially has come out.
Now, would it be possible, I know we've talked about District 3, Kevin Kiley's district. Do you think at all there would be a chance that he would jump, because he hasn't announced yet what district he is going to run in, but to jump from District 3 to maybe District 1, or you don't think that's a likely possibility?
Well, it's always possible.
Anything's possible,
yes, but remember that the U.S. Constitution only requires somebody running for the U.S. House to be a resident of the state of California, not of a particular congressional district.
So they don't have to live in the district that they represent.
That's correct. And so it is possible, I would assume more likely he would stay in this geographic area. I'm sure we'll see one or more Republicans ultimately announce after a certain period of time. Remember, the governor hasn't even called that special election, so we're not sure the exact timing of it.
Chris McKeely, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, and our team recently spent time in Congressman LaMalfa's district. In September, I went to his ranch to talk about Prop 50 and many other things, like what people think about him. Because one thing was absolutely clear when we spent time in the area, there were people that loved him, and I do not say that lightly. When I would ask people, what do you think about the job Representative LaMalfa has done? They would go, oh, Doug? Yeah, Doug, we love Doug. And, to many people in his district, he was more than a congressman. He was one of them, a fourth-generation farmer, a father, a grandfather. So here's a candid moment from our interview that never aired until now. Do you think a lot of people in your district see you and themselves?
I hope so.
Yeah.
The logo my campaign people came up with was "He's one of us," the motto, I mean. he's one of us. I think I am, you know. I mean, yeah, I've got this fancy title and, you know, I've been around the block on all this a little bit, so I don't probably talk exactly like everybody does when I get on a rant like this and stuff, but I think I'm pretty much of them. Same thing. I just have these different experiences that they don't because of where I go. I go, you know, every week 2,500 miles that way and walk around marble and tile and stuff for, you know, 72 hours, then I come home again.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, being out here, it seems like a completely different world.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go, you know, to Sacramento or DC. How do you still remain true to who you are here?
These are the clothes. These are the same clothes I wear on the plane to there and from there.
Really?
Yeah, I put on the suit when I walk in.
Well,
the
except
office.
for your office when you're barefoot sometimes. But
yeah, at the end of the day, I take the shoes off, and people still come in like, "Hey, guys, don't excuse the feet here," but you know, because and so I guess that's probably part of why I'm one of the folks here instead of that.
we laughed a lot during that interview. And something else that really stuck with me is at the end of the interview, again, we spent a lot of time with him at the ranch, and I really grilled him on so many different topics. But at the end, he goes, well, I might as well give you one of these. And I was like, what could he possibly be giving me? And he gave me a hug. And I won't recap our entire conversation. That is now something that I'll hold close to myself. But pretty much what he told me is he said, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time in my world, in my community, and thank you for the job that you do. And I think that that moment has always stuck with me because truly it speaks to the type of man that he was.